It's high. It's hot. A lot of dirt and dust. It's pretty, miserable place. I wouldn't look at it as a vacation spot, really. But what the Carthusian monks discovered about 900 years ago was that it grew pretty good grapes, made pretty good wine. Now these monks, they had to go there, right? They were sent there by the church, and it was kind of like, okay, you're going to Priorat. Monks were like, oh, God. But, in the end, they stumbled onto one of the greatest wine-producing areas in the world. And only recently, so over the last 20 years, have we rediscovered the Priorat in northeastern Spain. The Priorat's located about 70 miles southwest of Barcelona, up in the hills of Tarragona. And the unique part about this place is the super hot days and super cool nights. There can be 40, 50-degree fluctuations in temperature over the course of a day, much like Palm Springs or the desert communities. And what happens there is you get great ripeness, but the cool nights help retain acidity. So these wines have immense power and structure, but they have an element of freshness to them, which belies their super hot origins. Over the past 15, 20 years, all these growers of Priorat, which for years were basically selling their grapes in bulk to the local co-op, which the co-op vinified just this amazing nectar, which they sold out of barrels, buckets to the locals or to other parts of Spain to beef up the quality of their blended wines, have finally discovered just how special it is, thanks to a couple pioneering importers and a couple pioneering producers in the area. Now, we don't have one of those pioneering producers here today, but what we have is one of the longest running landowners in the Priorat, which recently decided, after selling their grapes for years, to get into the business themselves. And we are sure glad that they did, because their particular piece of Priorat, the hills, is particularly exciting. So here are the wines from the Marco family. And we have two wines from the Marco family today, and we're going to start with the Mas Maiola. I think I'm saying this right. This is Catalan, so the whole double L thing, you're going to have to sue me. If I get any dirty letters from any Catalan people, I'm sorry, I don't speak Catalanese. So we're going to start with the Mas Maiola, which is made primarily out of the two main go-to grapes in Priorat. For centuries, the Priorat has been planted to Garnacha, which we call Grenache, and Carignana, or Carignan, which is another grape that's making quite the return right now. There's a Carignan renaissance happening throughout the world, and with good reason. You choose wines like these. Now, the Mas Maiola comes from the younger vines in the property, which are on average about 15, 20 years old. The Marco family planted these to essentially start producing more wine, and they've been very successful in doing so. Now, another key to the success of this estate is that they hired arguably one of the most talented, if not the most talented, winemakers in the Priorat, a lady by the name of Esther Nin, and I might butcher this again, two L's again, Yort. So, anyway, Esther has chops. This girl knows how to make wine. She knows how to grow wine. She's the main face behind another famous Priorat label called Clos Rasmus, which a lot of trophy hunters may know as being one of the go-to pedigree cult Priorat wines available today. And her services are for hire, and the Marco family were willing to pay the price. And they've done good. This is serious wine. 40% Garnacha, 40% Carignana, maybe 45 and 40, with the balance between Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah, maybe a touch of Merlot, because they're really experimenting with Syrah and the Bordeaux varietals here in the Priorat, because of the weather. They think you can do rather well. Results are in the glass. Now, this comes from a sub-appellation of Priorat called Porrera. There's about 7 growing areas within Priorat. Porrera is considered one of the best, and it is high elevation. These are steeply terraced vineyards, no soil whatsoever. So when they plant the vineyards, half of the vineyard pretty much almost dies. And then once they realize that, then they don't have to plant another vine there. So they just leave it empty. So the yields are quite low, very draconian yields. Probably a bottle per plant, this sort of thing. And you see the concentration of the wine. But the elevation and the cool climate at night also plays in. This wine has tremendous richness. Wonderful plum and black cherry, almost fighting the blackberry, almost like a currant cassis fruit component. And there's a wonderful sweet herb quality, which you get with higher elevation production, higher elevation wines. I love the nose here. And this wine sits so high and bright on the palate, deceptive. big and alcoholic and ponderous. Well, ladies like Esther are taking the trend the other way, and they're producing wines that have more freshness and brightness, so you get all the richness of Priorat, but you get this wonderful lift and lightness of being in the wines. And it shows. The Masmaiola is a delicious drink. Yeah, man, I had to suffer through that one. Not. Anyway, on to the big dog. Let the big dog eat. This is the Clos Saveilla. Now, Clos is, in French terms, a walled vineyard. And this is an 11-hectare walled vineyard in the Priorat, which is quite rare. And this is their pride and joy. This is the Marcos family top piece of property, if you will. They're Beverly Hills. This is 50 to 60-year-old vines. And once again, mostly Garnacha y Garanena, and the balance being younger vine, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, maybe a little Merlot. And here the ante is up. Using, I believe, all new French oak here. And these are Burgundy barrels. They don't use the Bordeaux barrels. They want the Burgundy barrels because of the roundness and softness, and they're slightly bigger, so it transfers less oak character into the finished wine, which is kind of what they're looking for. All these vineyards, by the way, are farmed biodynamically, organically. I don't know if they're burying cow's horns, like they do in some of these other biodynamic places. But the vineyards are farmed with an eye towards nature, and it's easy to do in the Priorat. There's really no pests or rot or virulent predators, so it's easy to grow these wines organically. Oh man, doggy leg shake. This is awesome stuff. Powerful, but still lifted. You get all this wonderful licorice, black cherry, and blackberry, cassis qualities jumping out of the glass. It's like a combination of the best from California, a top-flight Chateauneuf du Pape, mixed in with something distinctly Spanish. Unbelievable. Fruit's so sweet, the wine's so vibrant, and there's a wonderful, almost kind of tobacco-y lift to the fruit in the backside of the palate. I mean, this wine gets you really jazzed. A bottle of this, you don't want to go to sleep, you want to go out dancing. And that's a sign of any great wine to me, at least. These cats have their act together, and it's stunning to think that these wines come from a vineyard that probably for the last, well, it's been since the 15th century, so they've had vines planted, literally maybe hundreds of years, that these grapes were sold to a local bulk winery and ended up in wines that were literally $2, $3 a gallon. Stunning. And that's the beauty of Priorat, is that you get wines of this caliber from an area that for years literally didn't exist. Well, we're glad it exists now, and we're glad the Marco family decided to start pimping their wine, because it really is something special.